He will be worshipped, acclaimed, seen as the great leader who finally brought peace to the world. But that peace will be nothing more than an illusion. Imagine a ruler so charismatic, so persuasive, and so cunning that no one dares to question him. He presents himself as a savior, but behind the scenes, he is orchestrating the greatest betrayal in history. And the worst part? Millions will blindly believe in him. The Antichrist is not a myth or a legend. He was prophesied centuries ago, and his plan is already set. Are you prepared for what is coming? Today, we will unveil the shocking reality behind the Antichrist and his ultimate betrayal. And believe me, you cannot afford to miss this. Many have tried to predict his arrival. Others believe he is already among us, just waiting for the right moment to reveal himself. But who really is the Antichrist? How will he conquer the world? And most importantly, how will he deceive even those who consider themselves prepared to identify him? The Bible gives us clear clues about his rise. In 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 3, he is called the man of sin, the one who will rise in the final days. In the book of Revelation, chapter 13, he is described as the beast, a global leader who will use his influence to dominate humanity. But forget the idea of a being with horns or a monstrous appearance. The Antichrist will not emerge as an obvious villain. On the contrary, he will be admired, respected, and followed by millions who will believe he is the answer to the world's problems. And the first step in his rise? Deceiving Israel. Yes, the nation that has long sought a leader to guarantee peace and security will end up placing its trust in him. The Bible warns us about this in Daniel 9 verse 27, where it is said that the Antichrist will establish a 7-year covenant with Israel. During the first half of this period, he will be seen as a great ally. But halfway through, everything will change. The angel Gabriel himself warned Daniel about this event. Imagine the scenario: a historic treaty is signed. Conflicts cease. Stability finally seems to have been achieved. The world applauds this accomplishment, seeing this leader as someone capable of solving humanity's most complex problems. But suddenly, he breaks the pact. Not only does he abandon Israel, but he turns against them. The sacrifices in the temple are forcibly stopped, and something even darker happens: the Antichrist himself will demand to be worshipped as God. Revelation 13 verse 15 gives us a terrifying glimpse of this moment, and it was given unto him to give breath to the image of the beast, so that the image should both speak and cause all who would not worship the image of the beast to be killed. This means that those who refuse to recognize him as a deity will face ruthless persecution. The Antichrist will not accept any other form of worship. He will demand total obedience. And this is just the beginning. But why will he do this? The answer is simple: absolute power. He does not just want to rule, he wants to be venerated. He wants all of humanity to bow before him. And this is where his plan becomes even more terrifying. What happens after this betrayal? What will be the Antichrist's next move? We will explore that in the next part. Stay tuned, because what comes next is even more shocking. The betrayal of Israel will be just the first step in the Antichrist's plan to consolidate his rule. But his quest for power does not end there. He still needs to eliminate any threat to his government and ensure that no one can challenge him. And for that, he will turn his attention to another target: Babylon. Now, you may be asking, does Babylon still exist? Well, in the Bible, Babylon is not just a physical city but a symbol of a great world power. In the past, it was a mighty empire, full of wealth and influence. Today, many scholars believe that the new Babylon will represent a global system of government and religion that will dominate the world in the final days. And the Antichrist will need to destroy it to ensure that only he has absolute control. In Revelation 17, Babylon is described as a great prostitute, sitting on many waters, dressed in purple and scarlet, adorned with gold and precious stones. She is presented as a symbol of lust, corruption, and idolatry. But the most frightening part is what happens to her. The Bible tells us that the Antichrist's own allies will turn against Babylon and destroy her. But why would that happen? Simple. The Antichrist does not accept rivals. He may allow this global system to prosper for a time, but at the right moment, he will dispose of it to ensure that only he is worshipped. And this moment will be marked by a shocking event. Revelation 18 describes Babylon's fall as something sudden and devastating. The text says that in just 1 hour, everything will be destroyed. Alas! Alas! That great city, Babylon, for in 1 hour your judgment has come. The world will be in shock, witnessing this global power fall so quickly and unexpectedly. Now, imagine the scene: economies collapsing, cities in chaos, world leaders not knowing what to do. The world, which once saw the Antichrist as a peacemaker, will begin to see his true nature. But at this point, it will be too late. He will already have absolute power. And all of this is part of a greater plan. The Antichrist's ultimate goal is not just political rule, but spiritual domination. He wants to be seen as a god, and any form of worship that is not directed at him must be eradicated. But what happens after Babylon's fall? Who will be the Antichrist's next victim? What else is he willing to do to consolidate his reign? Get ready, because the next revelations are even more disturbing. With the betrayal of Israel and the destruction of Babylon, the Antichrist will have already eliminated 2 major obstacles to his total domination. But he is not finished yet. He must secure his absolute rule, and to do so, he will take an even more radical step, betraying his own allies. The Bible speaks of a powerful alliance formed by 10 kings who will rule alongside the Antichrist. In Daniel 7 verse 24, these 10 kings are represented by 10 horns of a great beast. They are rulers of nations who will join forces to establish a new world order. But as with everything involving the Antichrist, this alliance will not be based on loyalty but on manipulation. And that is where betrayal happens. Daniel 7 verse 8 tells us that among these 10 kings, a little horn will arise, uprooting 3 of them. In other words, the Antichrist will eliminate 3 of the 10 kings to ensure that no one else has power besides him. Now, think about this: he not only deceived the people of Israel, not only destroyed Great Babylon, but now he is attacking his own allies. This shows that no one is safe in his empire of terror. Anyone who does not blindly obey will simply be discarded. And what will the world's reaction be? Many will still be blind, believing that all of this is part of a greater plan for a better world. But for those who see the truth, it will be a time of fear and despair. After all, if the Antichrist himself can betray his most powerful allies, what wouldn't he do to the rest of humanity? But there is something even worse. With total control over the government and world religion, he will demand a final act of absolute submission, the mark of the beast. Revelation 13 verses 16 to 17 reveals this crucial moment, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, so that no one may buy or sell except the one who has the mark, the name of the beast, or the number of his name. This means that those who do not accept this mark will be excluded from the system. Without it, they will not be able to work, buy food, or have any access to basic resources. It will be a brutal choice: submit to the Antichrist or face persecution. This will be the point of no return. The world will be completely divided. On one side, those who give in and accept the mark. On the other, those who resist, knowing that it could cost them their lives. But there is something many will not realize until it is too late: accepting this mark will not be just an economic decision but a spiritual choice. Because by accepting it, a person will be pledging allegiance to the Antichrist and rejecting God. And that is why this will be his ultimate betrayal. He does not just want to rule over bodies, but also over souls. He wants to replace God and be worshipped as the true Savior. But the question remains, will his reign really last forever? The answer to this lies in the final chapters of biblical prophecy, and it is something the Antichrist himself could never have imagined. In the next section, we will reveal how all of this ends and what will truly happen to him. Stay tuned. By this point, the Antichrist will have consolidated a level of power never before seen in human history. He deceived Israel, destroyed Babylon, and eliminated his own allies. Now, with absolute control over governments and religions, he prepares for his final step, dominating all of humanity. But there is a detail that makes this domination even more dangerous. He will not be just a political tyrant. He will not be just a dictator. He will demand something that no other ruler has ever dared to demand: absolute worship. The entire world will be divided between those who have submitted and those who resist. Those who reject the mark of the beast will be hunted down, persecuted, and even killed. There will be no middle ground. By this point, those who remain faithful to God will live as fugitives, hiding and deprived of any basic rights. And in this terrifying scenario, the Antichrist will make a bold decision to declare himself God. In 2 Thessalonians 2 verse 4, it is written, "He opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or is worshipped, so that he sits in the temple of God, presenting himself as if he were God." He will demand that the entire earth worship him. People will not be able to simply obey him. They will have to adore him. He will be the central figure of a false world religion. But something unexpected happens. In the midst of this chaos, a sign appears that changes everything. The prophecy says that at the moment of the Antichrist's greatest power, the heavens will open and Christ will return. And then everything that seemed definitive will begin to crumble. The book of Revelation itself describes what will happen to the Antichrist. In Revelation 19 verse 20, we read, "Then the beast was captured, and with it the false prophet who performed the signs in its presence, by which he deceived those who received the mark of the beast and those who worshipped its image. These two were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone." At the height of his glory, the Antichrist will be instantly defeated. He will not die like an ordinary man, nor will he have time to reverse the situation. He will be judged and cast directly into the lake of fire, where he will remain for all eternity. And his empire? The entire power structure he built will be destroyed. The system that kept the world under control will be wiped from the earth. The armies that marched by his side will be completely crushed. And the most remarkable thing, those who resisted and kept their faith will see justice being done before their eyes. This is the end of the Antichrist. His reign of terror comes to an end the same way it began, with a lie. He promised peace but brought war. He promised prosperity but brought misery. He promised to be a savior but was nothing more than an instrument of destruction. And when all seems lost, the true king will return and establish his eternal kingdom. Now, you might be wondering, but what does all of this mean for me today? The answer is simple: vigilance. The Bible warns us that the spirit of the Antichrist is already at work in the world. The Antichrist himself may not have emerged yet, but the system that will enable his rise is already being built. Manipulation, deception, and the thirst for power are everywhere. That is why it is crucial to stay alert. In Matthew 24 verse 24, Jesus warned us, "For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders so as to deceive, if possible, even the elect." In other words, the greatest danger will not be just the Antichrist himself, but the lie he will represent. So, what is the best way not to be deceived? Studying, seeking knowledge, and keeping your faith strong. It is not enough just to believe, you must be prepared. And if you have made it this far, it means that you care about the truth. You want to understand what is coming and be ready for whatever may happen. Now, before we finish, I have a request for you. Please subscribe to the channel and leave a like because this helps a lot in spreading this message. And don't stop here. There is another video on the channel that goes even deeper into these topics, and it's already appearing on your screen. Click on it and continue your journey of knowledge. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.